Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome spiritual, intuitive, energy healer, and reader Terri Allen. So, welcome, Terri.
Hi, how are you? Morning from Los Angeles.
Thank you. So, Terri, I'd like to congratulate you on all your achievements. Can you share with us how your career started?
Which one? You mean the spiritual one?
So in the spiritual, yeah.
I think it started around over 15 years ago.
Okay.
I've always been into spirituality anyway. I was always brought up, around that energy through my mother. And so it wasn't anything that I wasn't... I was brought up around it. It was very familiar to me, but it was probably in my late 30s, mid-30s, that I started to really investigate it further.
Yes.
And so I changed from my old profession and then studied this profession, and it's just gone on and on and on. So it was probably, over 15 years ago, really, that it had my calling.
Yes.
And I really stepped into it about 15 years ago. And it's
Amazing.
a part of my life.
Amazing.
It's always been a part of my life, but probably more, where I do it with clients, and I have clients and studied a lot more on myself and awareness and family dynamics and the whole, spiritual side of it, really, which I think you don't stop learning. You're constantly...
No, it's forever evolving, right?
You have to evolve, just as our planet evolves, we evolve. If you're not evolving, you're dead.
Exactly.
We have to evolve. And so it's important for us to keep evolving and growing spiritually within ourselves.
Yeah. So you specialize in a very niche industry as a spiritual healer, reader, certified angel therapy reader, and Reiki teacher. So can you share with us more about the various practices and why you got into such a specialized career in healing? And was there something that happened within your own life that influenced you?
I think, I'll start with probably, when you're in your life and you're not feeling great, or you're not feeling well, you've got continuous repetitions, or you're not happy with things in your life, you then need to look at really what's going on emotionally and spiritually and mentally and physically within yourself. And so I started to have a lot of healing for about a year, twice a week. And that led me to, learning and exploring and healing myself from within. And it awakened me to a whole new way of living and being. It changed my life 360 degrees. It changed my wellness, my physical wellness, my emotional, my mental, everything changed. That's because I worked at it. And then I started doing lots of different classes overseas, whether it be in America or England. And then just evolving on that path, really. But I think once you're on your spiritual path, it pulls you anyway to your guidance system, where you're meant to be being and doing for others, and it evolves as you go. So, but I think you have to do a lot of work on yourself. You have to go within, you have to be honest, you have to heal that inner child. So basically, the work that I do is, I think everyone who does this work has their own individual way of working. It doesn't matter whether we're all Reiki masters, it's still the individuality that you're bringing, the healing energy that comes through you, the alignment, the energy that's flowing through you, what you're associated with. So it all makes us unique. It's not, you'll never get the same healer or intuitive or clairvoyant or what anyone wants to call them, the same person. We're all individual people. So you should form your own way of working. So for me, I like to work on getting those deep roots out of your spiritual home. This is our spiritual garden, your body. And weeds grow and formed within that place from a young childhood. And so I found over the years, was my calling, was to get those roots out through spiritual surgery, as people want to call it, or spiritual movements, And I just intuitively knew what was going on, what needed to be cleared, and my guides that work with me were the ones that navigated me into this direction. So it was by accident that this came in.
Yeah.
You know, the feedback from my clients over the last 15 years, that their lives have changed after doing the sessions. Now, I'm not saying that's me, they were ready to change. And secondly, I can't do any work without my guides, my spiritual guides, and opening myself up for that divine energy to flow through.
Yes.
And then it sort of progressed then from people into, you know, my intuition. I instantly know what people or the blockages or where they are through my guides. So, and then it sort of progressed into children, really. It, you know, anchored out into learning meditation, teaching meditation, mindfulness, inner child healing, angel reading. Also, I'm a life coach, so I use the intuitive life coach with life coaching, and I'm a therapist. So I brought all different elements into it, but by using your intuition with all these different healing modalities, it takes, you can hum in and go to the situation very fast instead of going through the whole system to get there. You know, it's basically anyone that's doing this type of work gives you the key for you to unlock the door, and then that's your choice. And then it evolved with children. Parents were bringing with their children, teenagers, and helping children to unblock their emotions. And it's really good to work with kids at a very young age, because you know, emotions are formed from a young age, and it's good to get rid of them, or to help them, not rid of them, but to help them to release them and understand themselves better. So then the children's side and the teenager side formed itself, really. And so I have a very intuitive side when it comes to children, like much more stronger, I think, than adults.
Yes,
I intuitively get them.
So within that, what would you say some of your biggest lessons and learnings have been within your career?
I don't call this work as a career, I call it a calling.
Yes.
I think
within your calling, what is some? I mean, I'm sure there's probably many, but what sort of stands out for you the most?
What do you mean? Like,
in terms of the lessons you've learned, like, has there been anything that
I think the biggest lesson,
something or change something?
Yeah, you change yourself.
Yeah.
You change, you look at yourself, you look at who you are honestly and openly. You become fully aware of who you are and the emotions in yourself. You really get to know yourself. And I think that's the big key, is for people to really go within and to do that work, and to look and see what needs to be changed, evolved, let go of. And that is, you know, people are so fixated on looking outside of themselves and looking at other people. You have to look at what's right for you. You know, what do you want? What's going on with you? Why is this continuously happening to me? Or what, you know, not that you're overjudging yourself, but you're looking, because the world mirrors you. All the time. So, you know, when people keep blaming that these people are around them, then you need to look at why you're attracting them. So I'd say the biggest thing for me was to look at myself, to go deep within, to do the work on myself, and to become a better person, or to bring the better person out that was already in there, because we're all born spiritual beings of light, you know, which then the society or whatever's going on, you know, starts to impact around us, and the conditioning, and then we lose who we are, and then we have to go all the way back in again to find out who we truly are. And that's why I love working, and I installed this into my son, you know, to let his gifts come forward onto this planet. Why is he here? Why are we here? We're not here to just sit at a desk.
No.
We're here to spread our light and our love and our energy, and to make this world a better place, but to also bring forward those gifts that you have. And that's where it needs to be drawn out when we're young. And, you know, we don't all have that when we're growing up. It's you know, there's a lot of conforming going on, a lot of issues in the family, a lot of emotional stuff. And so it's more or less really going, when I went within and worked with people for the few years, and then I just started growing and working on myself. And it's an ongoing process to really be honest and look at yourself, at why are you feeling that way? Why is this happening to me? Why can't I keep a boyfriend? Why Am I not married? Why am I angry all the time? What, you need to really be honest with yourself and go in, but then also have somebody help you to work with you. Why would you struggle? When someone,
yeah, of course.
when they're outside of the circle, they always can, if you go to a good intuitive healer, they will open that door for you, or help you open that door, or give you the key, and then you open it up and you go in. But it's that person that helps you get there faster. That's what I did with the people that I worked with. I jumped. I didn't want to do it all myself. I asked for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the key.
Yeah, so you're the author of a number of books. So can you share with us more about this? And was writing these books a natural process for you, or did you find it a challenge?
Well, I co-authored these books, My Magical Garden and My Magical Tree. They're mindfulness books for children. And basically, during my meditations, everything that I've always done, it's always the garden. So when I meditate, your spiritual home, your whole soul, your whole well-being is your spiritual garden. And so when My Magical Garden was the first one to be created, it wasn't difficult to do because it had been in a part of my life for a long time. The meditations, and it's a great thing to do. Yes, it's a challenge because you're working with people and certain things you're not sure about because we self-publish them.
Yeah.
But it was, I'm very creative. I was 20 years a makeup artist in the fashion and beauty industry. So I'm very creative. I used to design flyers as well. And so creativity was a part of my life. So I'm very visual, very visionary. My intuition, my psychic eye is very strong. And so it was, the frustrating bit, I think, is always trying to get that vision from your head into an illustration.
Onto paper.
Well, it's just someone else's, so you have to come up with a lot of drawing boards, but it was great fun. And then My Magical Tree was born, and they're great children's books because basically they're mindfulness books. So the child gets to choose what tree they want, what flower, how they're building it. But then in the back of the book, there's an appendix that tells you where the child is emotionally within themselves and how the parent or teacher or carer or whoever's working or using the books can bring that child into balance holistically through the appendix in the back of the book. So everything that they choose, first of all, they're building it in their minds. So they're creating that power of choice. So you're giving that child the time to choose what they want to put in their minds. So you're telling them, you have the power to choose. What would you like to put in? And the child looks at you like, I have a choice, because a lot of conditioning goes on. School, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. It's very rare to say have a choice. And so they build it in their mind, and it's a place where they can go. And when they're meditating, it's this beautiful place, listen to themselves. But then in the appendix, look up in the back, everything they've chosen, how they are emotionally within themselves and how they can balance themselves. So it is a tool for the family, for children, teachers, therapists, anyone who wants to use it, really. And parents should do it with them because you obviously need to see as yourself a parent where you are at yourself.
Yes.
So, but it's always a healing, it's always a learning tool when you're doing books for yourself. But I think because I'd worked on magazines and worked as a beauty editor in a magazine once in Dubai, that, I'd learned a lot of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. You're always destined to do something because all what I'd learned in my old 20 years in that fashion beauty industry, a lot of that management side and everything I brought into a lot of my work. So it helped to know. Not everything I knew what I was doing, but I knew a lot. The people, the designers, the printers, it was all there for me. So it was obviously meant to be because I did a book before called The Makeup Book with all the international brands, and that was in Harrods in London. And and so I had already done one book, and so there was you sort of knew quite a lot of stuff, but still not everything. So 50% probably, and the other 50 was, with children's books, there are certain shapes and sizes and stuff. But it is it's a progress. But it's a great learning tool, and great that we did them, and great that we can offer these out to the children and to parents and to teachers, and we were, in schools and stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So that obviously brings me to COVID-19, which has turned our world upside down and inside out. So can you share with us how this has impacted your business and what have you had to do to adapt?
I knew there was intuitively, I knew something was coming to the earth plane about a month before, because everyone was on fast forward. Everybody was, something wasn't right.
Yes.
And I just says to
Things were accelerating at a fast pace. And
it was just out of control.
Direction.
You know, and so I said to my husband, someone's going to put the brakes on. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go on, but the brakes are going to go on. Yeah. And then it did. I didn't know it was going to be that. Yeah. I thought it was probably, you know, you think environmental. So basically, we wasn't in fear, or we went into a lot of meditation, a lot of work on ourselves, a lot of nature walks. My husband did a lot of spiritual work on himself because obviously his work stopped, you know, everyone's work stopped, you know. And I was studying at the time, which was great. You know, I'm at UCLA in a 2-year program to be a teacher, and in the TMF course. And so for me, I had a lot of education going on, which was great. Yeah. Mindfulness, and again, that's in a work on yourself. And I think we brought out all the tools that we had learned over the 15 years. We used to take groups of people to Brazil to a healing retreat. So we knew a lot of tools. I was well equipped. And so there was the time to bring out these spiritual tools and enrich my life, and to use this time for the next level of our life and where we're going and what we're doing. You know, I have a crystal bed, you know, I have a healing room. I have a lot of healing tools. I've got a great spiritual community. So for us, we used it as a positive. You know, I have to look back and say that
it definitely had some upsides to it, for sure.
We had a lot of upsides. It was probably one of the upsides. 2020, when people say it was a disaster, for us it wasn't.
No. And also, in many ways, I've also said this to people, is that I think Mother Nature has a way of taking care of business. And I think we've been abusing the planet for so many years.
Well, I think
so I think that when you look at some of the changes that have happened in the environment, like if you look at Venice, the waters become clearer, you know, you can see jellyfish. So there have been definite dramatic changes. People in India could see the Himalayas mountains, or, you know, because there wasn't smog. And
there was a lot of positivity that people needed that break. They needed that time to stop, to look, to assess. Everything went online in Zoom, and then halfway along, actually, I saw clients. You know, they wanted to see in person after about 3 months. I think they were a bit done.
So people need human connection. I think that's also
100%. They need human connection. But it's great that we've got Zoom. So I met people around the world with different groups that I'm in, and so it just took on an online platform, really.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest turning point for me was learning the technical side of things, because obviously seeing clients always in person, yes, sometimes on the phone, but the children was always in person, always in the schools. And so that had to go all online, which I'd still prefer to be in person with the kids. It's not the same online. Adults, you can get away with it, but you know, it is what it is. And but we're glad that we have it, thank God.
Yes.
You know, but it's that balance again, isn't it? You know, so yes, it went a lot online, but then we had to make sure we went outside a lot in nature and spent time in nature, and to balance out that energy, you know, because it's draining.
Yeah, very draining.
To be on a computer and be on courses and do workshops on Zoom. But yeah, so you had to sort of evolve and go with it. There was no point fighting it. It was a lot of going in, looking at yourself, working on yourselves again, and looking for that spiritual guidance. And my main thing is I always give it up to God and the angels to guide me.
Yes.
Always. if I'm not sure, then you might as well ask. You know,
Yes.
and so for us, yes, there was times where, okay, yes, fear comes in, the unknown comes in, but I think it did really give us that time as a family to spend together, and also friends. I mean, a lot of people, you know, connected with me that hadn't over a long time. Yeah, you know, then eventually group gatherings and going off into nature and meeting new people, met a lot of new people. So in a way, I can't say it was a negative. It was actually, on a spiritual growth side, a very positive growth.
Yeah, and also probably reconnections, like you say, of people that, you know, you hadn't been in contact with for a while. So
Yeah, and they all reached out.
Sorry.
You know, and they all reached out. They had time. You know, people moved in with their families. People moved in with their parents or, you know, their family members to spend time with them that they'd never spent. And I think that's, you know, there is a lot of plus. I mean, okay, there's also some, you know, people have lost a lot of people in their family, and I understand that. But it's for me personally, and for me and my family, it's been a very strong spiritual growth time.
Amazing.
And so it's been better for us, I'd say, especially coming new into the United States. We've only been here, I think it'll be 3 years in April. So
oh wow,
it was so it's but I'm glad that we met really great people. I think it's also who you surround yourself with.
Of course.
You know, I've got really good people around me, people that we can go to, really good support, really good positive spiritual people and groups, and I think that's the key as well. You know, to be around those like-minded people that keep you or know how to help you to keep elevated. You know, you help one another, not pulling each other down. So, you know, and we have meditations every week. Like I was doing meditations since last April, every week for a year. Anyone can come, it's free. Lots of people come on and off. They said it's really helped them. We come together, we share our light, we send light out to the planet. And so that was formed, which was lovely. I used to do it in person, but now it's online from all over the world. And so, so many different ways of connecting and forming to one another, which can enrich our lives, really, you know.
Yes. So that leads me to the next question. You've traveled all over the world. Can you share with us more about this? And did this influence your career path or your calling?
I think so, yes. I think definitely, you know, because I moved from London to Hong Kong, lived in Hong Kong for 2 years, and then Happy Chinese New Year for everybody. Today is Kung Hei Fat Choi, as they say. And then I lived in Singapore for 4.5 years, and then the Middle East, Dubai, for 20 years. I think, you know, moving abroad, overseas, in these different cultures, and yes, I've traveled all over the world, to India, to most places, understanding and learning different cultures, different religions. It's just the best education you can give to yourself. You know, my son, I'd like him to go around with his friends or backpack, or to learn these cultures from different countries. My son has experienced and traveled a lot, actually, for a young guy. So he's also been open to, you know, he's gone to Africa, we've helped children there, we've gone for orphanages in Ethiopia, because my son was adopted from Ethiopia. Yeah, my son was adopted from there. And so we did a lot of work there, been to Dhaka in India. You know, so I've always been involved in helping children. And but to travel around the world, learning different cultures, having friends all over the world, different religions, it really helps with my work and understanding, you know, and for me, you know, that's how I see oneness, you know, that I've got friends of all different colors, different races, different nationalities from all over the world, and it just gives you that education that you don't get probably in school. You know, of mixing and understanding and learning from one another and different cultures. It's fascinating. I loved it. I loved every country I lived in. Loved Hong Kong, loved Singapore, and loved Dubai, loved the Middle East. You know, I was brought into their culture and by the women, and went to their weddings and their homes and the Muslim society. It was, you know, I've got a lot of great friends, and I think you should, when you live anywhere, to embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it also helps you, because in your work, you know, I know even from my traveling, when you're working and living in different cultures, it helps you in your approach to things. Because I think if you don't have experience working with a specific culture, things can be interpreted differently. It's not the same as the US to like Scandinavia, for example, like the way in which people communicate
Yeah,
and
you're
the way in
right.
which they do business is very different.
You're right, and it's you learn through that, and living abroad, we had all different cultures, even in one place. Like Hong
Yes.
Kong had many different cultures. Singapore did. Dubai has got like I think 40 different nationalities. And my son grew up in that, which is great. So he's very open to any nationality and culture, and we went into everyone's different lives, and I think yes, it just gives you that education level, that openness, the knowing, the learning, and to know, there are different ways of doing things. I agree, and I think it's a wonderful gift, and for a child to travel and to learn. And I know quite a few parents do that. They took their kids around the world as a school education. They took them out of the school and took them around traveling and learn. And I think you can learn per country. I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely. So that leads me to leadership, which is obviously a big subject at the moment. So what would you say has made you a leader in your profession or calling? And can you give us any examples as to how you've helped your clients?
Again, I don't see myself really as a leader. I see myself as I'm just doing what I feel my soul calling is. And I think we all have that in any capacity. So I suppose we're all leaders, aren't we, in our own way?
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean, because
and I think that
come to you for help, you guys.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, I think again, you attract the people that like my clients. I attract my clients from the universe, and through probably feedback from other people or trust. I'm a big believer that you are meant to have the clients that you attract in your life through the universe, through what you put out. And for me, I just do my calling. I just pass on the information that I get to them.
Yes.
And that's what I can do. And I do try and give the power back to the person.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't empower anyone. I ignite. They empower themselves.
Yes.
And for me, it's probably to take them back to that empowerment of that light within themselves, for them to remember that, to take back their power and to go off with it. That's what I like when people, they just have that, the light goes on and they think, oh my God, yes. And then they go off and their life starts to evolve and change for the better. And it's just that sometimes we forget and we need help for someone to just, give us that key to that door, or to help us flick that light back on, or to just find that light. And that's the key. That's the key to someone helping anyone in anything.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest gift you can give someone, and to give them a feeling of worthiness, like, they're worth something. You have that light, you have that love, that power within yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't think you're anything less.
Absolutely.
I like people to know they're special.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. And so for me, it's when they go out knowing that, and the light's gone back on and they feel that empowerment and they go off with it. To me, that's the best thing, is when you just see it in their eyes. It's like a flick of a switch and they just like, oh God, yeah. And I think it's because through society and through lots of different medias, and especially TV, you have to watch what you're watching.
Yes.
It can form you into something that you're not, or what, there's a lot of outside stuff. And so when you just give them a few words, even sometimes it can be, you're doing the whole cleansing session or the healing session, but then it might just be one word that flicks them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might not know what it is. And that could be anyone. You could go into a shop and give a smile and ask, how are you today? Or calling a friend, or seeing how someone is, or sending a nice message. It's just that little thing that's the most powerful thing, I think.
No, absolutely. So that leads me to the last two questions. What are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to others looking to pursue a similar path? And what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
I think for anyone that wants to do that path, they'll know because they're going to be called to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I had never thought in my lifetime that I would do this work. I had a very strong business, and I was, quite successful in my old work. And so for me, I was surprised that I went into this. It just, when I changed my life, a whole different person and different way of living came in. Yeah. So I think if you want to do this type of work, you have to start with yourself first. You have to work with someone very good, someone that's going to push you.
Yeah.
Because I'm very tough with my clients. I do push them. I make them do homework, do the work as well. You come together 50-50. And I think to go within honestly and do that work within yourself, and to look at yourself, and to then find the right person that you can work with. I think that's, if someone's got that calling to do this, they have to do that work on themselves first. That's the key thing. Yeah. And you will continue through your clients, you'll continue to evolve and grow. But at the beginning, you have to do that stuff on yours. You can educate as much as you like, but if you don't go within and do that work within yourself, you have to do that work within yourself.
Yeah,
you have to be able to look within yourself to then be able to see others, or to look at others, or see what's going on, or to advise, or to give as much wisdom and knowledge that you have coming through you at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
I think that to be remembered, I think for me, I never really thought about it. I think just, that people saw joy and light and fun.
Yes.
That for me, it's, passing that light onto someone else, or, that I was fun and passing that their inner light on. Or I don't really think about it too much, really. I'm just, it's just, I think that, because everyone's going to have a different view of how they found you. But for me, if I have helped anyone along the way, or in any which way, because, you can just say one word and save someone's life.
Absolutely.
You give one smile, you can change one person's life, which then could become something that changed a lot in other people's. So if I've changed someone's life in any way for the better, then that makes me feel good.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the main thing. And I think also, that would be the main thing. If I've helped them to change their lives, or to make them feel better in any way that changed their life, is probably the main thing for me.
Yeah.
So you make on this planet, you've left something good behind. You've made, that someone's done something, or you've helped somebody, or for them to realize how special they are. I think that's the best gift you can give anyone. And also as a parent, as a mother, you can do your best in navigating your child into who they are,
Yes.
I think that's so important, allowing them to fly.
Well, thank you so much, Terri, for joining us today, and hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where you are in your journey. And if people want to connect with you, what are the best platforms to do so?
Well, I have 2 websites. So I have the Angels of Light. So it's angelsoflightonline.com. And then the other website, which has got mindfulness, meditation, working with children and teenagers and parents, which is Terri, TERRI-Allen, ALLEN.com. So I have 2 websites, so they can read all about it. And
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining. And
you're welcome.
And we'll hopefully have you back in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's been wonderful. Thank you. I think it's what people need at this time, to, share positive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
To share as much positive energy and light as you can. you know, and that's the main thing, in whatever way you can find it, whatever works for you, you know.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, darling. Thank you for having me on.